Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Yitz Epstein. I am a narcissistic abuse life coach. Today I will be discussing the difference between judgment and discernment. Judgment is defined as the ability to make considered decisions and come to sensible conclusions. Discernment is defined as the ability to notice fine point details, understand them, and the ability to obtain perceptions and to judge well. In the context of what I'm going to discuss, in the context of this episode, we're going to be talking about the difference between these two socially. When a person is judging another person, what they're doing is essentially they're generalizing and they're categorizing them in a sort of a construct that they already have in their mind, be it an ethical, social, cultural, religious, gender, etc. When a person is discerning, they're using a life skill in order to identify if this person in front of them or the situation is good for them or not good for them, and to understand what is truly going on in front of them and to gain an accurate idea of who the person in front of them is. Judgment is much easier than discernment because judgment really happens naturally. It's just a simple compartmentalizing and generalizing, as opposed to discernment, which takes effort to see the person in the present moment and allow that person to teach them who they are, what their personality traits are, and what their attitudes are based on specific actions that they take today. The interesting thing about judgment is that other people can feel your judgment energetically, intuitively, and based on how you treat them. And therefore, judgment is not something that you can necessarily hide. Discernment is much more difficult. It takes self-awareness and self-analyzation to make sure that you're not projecting some idea or some inner insecurity onto that person, but rather allowing that person the space to be themselves, express themselves, and ultimately teach you who they are. Now, this being said, it is impossible to never judge other people. We do it naturally, like I mentioned. Judgment is necessary, for example, in the case of a narcissistic abuser, to identify if this person is good for you or not. But even in this case, it is still, in a sense, discernment, because you're discerning the difference between whether this person is somebody who will assist you in life or take away and detract. So in this specific case of a narcissistic abuser, you don't necessarily have to judge them, because in reality, they have been abused, traumatized, destroyed in many different instances, in many different ways. What we're doing is we're identifying how they are going to affect your life, and that is discernment. Most judgments usually come from a place of fear. They also come from a place of inaccurate assessment of the situation. As the saying goes, fear equals false evidence appearing real. Most hate of others specific differences, their culture, racism is really predicated on the idea of fear. Fear limits the mind's capacity to get an accurate assessment of what's going on in front of them. It's a highly reactive response to external stimuli. It's usually cast out in the moment with the motivation to protect from a specific threat that is on the outside world. The ability to discern is a healthy and mature life skill. It includes critical thinking, it includes rational thought, and the ability to see what's in front of you without immediately reacting and assessing the situation with a calm, inner, peaceful state that will actually give clarity to what is going on in front of you. This is a oftentimes difficult and mature skill that needs to be developed. Now, abuse victims usually have black and white thinking, which is a defense in order to create some semblance of order in the chaotic, emotionally dysregulated state that they are in childhood. This is why you see oftentimes abuse victims become very judgmental and become very critical of themselves and the world, because really what they're trying to do is they're trying to categorize and generalize in order to compartmentalize their world and create some safety. Abuse victims' emotional brain, their amygdala, is usually very wounded, and therefore, in their hyper-emotional reactivity, will come to erroneous conclusions, will be impulsive, and this is where you see self-destructive and even abusive tendencies with abuse victims. So learning to discern involves calming the emotional brain, having and developing a sense of inner peace and calmness in order to assess the situation with clarity. It involves non-reactivity, taking a step back, sitting and waiting for the facts to come in order to make the best decision. This is actually one of the best defenses against narcissistic abusers, because if you are non-reactive, if you take away your ability to allow narcissistic abusers to get you to react, you actually take back your power. You take away the power that you've given over to them, and therefore you are the one who gets to decide how you're going to react in each moment. If you have an emotional overreactive brain, you're not able to see clearly, and oftentimes you will get duped and fooled by people who pretend to have your best interest but really are actually just playing on your high reactivity. Once you've mastered this ability to become non-reactive and discern, it'll be a lot easier to see who is good for you, who is not good for you, and ultimately choose people who are healthy for you, who are trustworthy, and ultimately allow you to become the highest, most healthy version of yourself. If you are a victim of narcissistic abuse, you find yourself extremely highly reactive and with the inability to assess who is good for you, who is not, please allow me to help you heal those wounds of childhood and dial down the emotional brain so you could become less reactive and develop this life skill of discernment, which is extremely necessary in order to manifest the best life for you. Please do reach out. I offer a free 15-minute consultation. I'm going to leave my contact information below. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Feel free to like and share this video with anybody who you feel might benefit from it. I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and until next time, all the best.